Shabbat Shalom, Good Shabbos from Congregation Kol Ami in West Hollywood, California. We're glad you're here. Our service begins with music. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're so glad you're here in person at Congregation Kol Ami in West Hollywood, and welcome to everybody online who's with us. Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you. We're celebrating simple Shabbat tonight. Back to basics is what I call it. No special speakers, no special song and dance. It's simply an opportunity to be present with one another, to invite God into our hearts, to sing with gusto, and to build community. So let's turn to page 128 as we sing from the book of Psalms, Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gamagachad. How good and pleasant it is for us to be together. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 We light Shabbat candles to begin our Sabbath day, and we're honored that Sam and John Fibish DeWitt are lighting tonight's candles and helping to sponsor tonight's service in memory of Sam's mother Hilda and Aunt Sylvia. Come forward, Sam, page 120 and 121 in our prayer books.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Shabbat shall Shabbat. Blessed are you who commands us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Thank you, Sam and John. And now I invite Dan Blatt forward, who's also sponsoring tonight's service in memory of his friend Paula Tabor and the yahrzeit of his grandfather Isidore Berg. Page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagofen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מקומים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. L'chaim, Dan. There's a tradition that we're taught that angels come to every single home and peer in your window. Yes, peeping angels are real. But what they're doing is looking to see whether you've lit the Shabbat candles and are observing Shabbat or not. And one angel is supposed to be, according to tradition, an angel that gives blessings, and the other angel gives curses. So you can imagine, if you are, they come and they look in your window and you're lighting your Shabbat candles and saying Kiddush, as Dan just did, then of course the angel who gives curses is forced to give a blessing. And if you're not, and you're in there just watching Jeopardy, then the angel, of course, who was supposed to give the blessing, has to kind of give a curse. Regardless, we want to now invite into our place angels of peace who can bless each and every one of us. So let's turn to page 142 to bid them hello and to invite their blessing upon us, and then to usher in the Shabbat. We sing together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Wish one another Shabbat Shalom. Introduce yourself to those around you that you don't know. And wish everybody at home Shabbat Shalom. Text someone that you love. If you're with somebody, wish them Shabbat Shalom. And of course, Shabbat Shalom in the chat of Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching tonight. Shabbat Shalom, Dan.
I think so.
We remain standing, turning to page 146 for the Baruch Hu prayer, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated.
Our Season of Change by Patricia Grantham. Trees begin to bare their limbs as their many leaves are shed. Chameleons change color from the tail to the top of their head. Animals go into hibernation before the first cold wind blast. So it is with our lives. We must never try to live in the past. The sun begins to cast its shadows, heralding the close of day. A flock of birds flies south, creating great shapes along the way. Squirrels scurrying and searching about gathering and storing nuts. If it wasn't for the season of change, we would all be stuck in ruts. The wind may blow in any direction, north, south, east, or west. When the storms of life have passed, all have withstood its test. Everything must change when it's time to step out of their range. Sow and reap, build up, tear down. This is our season of change. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
When we prepare ourselves, our souls, and our spirits to recite the Shema prayer, I want you to think of your ancestors. People in the photographs that you've seen, maybe you don't even know their names anymore. I want you to think of all of them, because the Shema prayer connects you to each of them, generations beyond. And I want you to take a moment also, before we recite these words, to think of generations that will come after you. Maybe your children or grandchildren, maybe your spiritual children or grandchildren, those that come up in the communities you support, those that you teach, your nieces or nephews, because you are connected beyond the generations to those. And so as we stand as one family and one people, let us feel that sense of oneness and connection that goes beyond eternity. Page 152 as we rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Let us be seated together as we continue with the Shema chanting, page 154, the Via Hafta. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We join in prayer on page 157 responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say to Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for a day when nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158, we join in Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha, Elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Nedar BaKodesh, Norati Lord, Osef Eleh, Norati Lord, Osef Eleh, Malchutecha, Ra'u Vanecha, Bokei Hayam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Ze Eli, Anu ve'amru, Anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Ya Elai, Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, Elai, Elai.
I don't know if you felt that, but there were about 5 seconds just then where there was quiet in this room, where you could have heard a pin drop. And for me, at least, on Friday afternoons, there's all this hustle and bustle. And then throughout moments of our Friday night service, I look for those moments of silence, because for me, that's the most tangible way to feel that rest that we seek, both in our Hashkivenu prayer that we say every night, and for the rest that we search for on Shabbat. I am on page 161 at the top. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 162, we sing the words from the book of Exodus, the Shamru, celebrating the Sabbath day. Shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit ha'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit ha'olam. Bein uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit ha'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit ha'olam. U'bayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit ha'olam. We rise together, turning to page 164 as we begin our Amidah, our Tefillah tonight. Please include the words of your own heart as we sing together. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. We take some time for silent prayer. We turn now in our hearts and our minds to thinking about those who are ill. And we've thought a lot about it, illness these last couple years especially. But even as things seem better, there's still people who are being affected by coronavirus. There's still people being affected by cancer, by ALS, by multiple sclerosis, by things that we do not even know yet how to name. There are people who are still struggling spiritually and emotionally with issues of mental health. And so with all of these concerns, we turn to our tradition to help pray for healing, pray for hope, pray for renewal, pray for peace. In our congregation, we're calling to mind especially John Altschul, Linda Bachleon, Vicki Beard, Richard Bernard, Don Bernstein, Tim Bestenheider, Dabby Blatt, Jeannie Cole, Olga Drucker, Francine Epstein, Tino Felipe, Dorothy Gibson Anderson, Lynette Graves, Don Hollis, Madeline Kent, Jeffrey Lehman, Phil Lelyveld, Russell Kirschenbaum, Ellen Link, Jeff Mackler, Jashawn McLean, Lauren Ostro, Tammy Rabowski, Ben Rebeck, Howard Romanoff, Judy Rosenberg, Lowell Selvin, Karen Shanbrom, Michael Simmental, Janine Snyder, Henry Sommerfeld, Suzanne Waldman, Kathy Weiss, Eitan Wolf, Nancy Wortman, David Ben Herschel Vabasha, and Sarit Bad Ilana. And if there's someone specific that you're thinking of tonight, or perhaps you need to say your own name aloud, please do so at this time, or write the name in the chat on Facebook or YouTube. Shema Kolenu, hear our prayer, hear our voices, God. Grant refuat nefesh, refuat guf, a healing of spirit and body to all who call upon you in their hour of need. Teach us to be messengers of love and kindness and blessing. Baruch atah Adonai rofei cholim. Praise are you, God, who heals the sick. Together, let us say, Amen. Page 371, the words to Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach. Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu makor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Earlier this week, I saw my first Christmas commercial of the year. For those of you with me in Southern California, you might know that despite a little bit of rain early on in the week, it's mostly really been in the 80s and 90s during the day. And the leaves are trying really hard to turn color on more than one tree at a time. And so it's hardly fall, let alone thinking about a winter season. But it's always around this time that I start thinking about my relationship to Christmas as a Jew who lives in the United States. Unless you count a custom of eating Chinese food and baking cookies, I don't really celebrate Christmas. And I want to be clear that I eat Chinese food and find excuses to make cookies way more often than once a year. But this highlights for me my favorite part of being Jewish and one of my favorite parts of being American. That both of these cultures allow for unique practices observances, and traditions based on family, based on culture, based on experience, and honestly, based on desire as well. So what works for me probably is not what will work for you and your family, and that's not just okay, but that's a blessing. In this season, leading up to Christmas and on Christmas itself, I always find myself grappling with this idea of being in the minority compared to the majority that has blurred this line between church and state, making a religious holiday into a national one. But now, let's imagine that this is actually flipped on its inverse. Imagine a country that celebrates a holiday of a minority as a national holiday, where schools have taken the day off from school, perhaps where shops are closed, maybe there's no mail. Since 2008, the SIGD, which begins next Wednesday night, has been an official Israeli national holiday, though it is mostly only observed by the country's 180,000 people who make up the Jewish community of Ethiopia, out of the entire Israeli population of about 9,000. But let's back up for a minute. Ethiopian Jews, who are also known as Beta Israel, which translates to the House of Israel, are believed to have immigrated from ancient Israel to Ethiopia between the 1st and the 6th centuries. And although many members of Beta Israel were forced to convert to Christianity in the 19th and 20th centuries, Ethiopian Jewry continued to secretly observe many Jewish traditions and holidays, and they remained steadfast in their Jewish faith. Because the Ethiopian Jewish community was isolated, they developed unique religious practices like the SIGD. SIGD, which translates from an ancient Ethiopian language to prostration, is a holiday about accepting the Torah and yearning for Israel and for the temple. It is thought to be the date on which God was first revealed to Moses. Traditionally, the members of Beta Israel fast on the SIGD, they read from their scriptures, and pray for the rebuilding of the temple. It is also a time where they renew the Israelite covenant to God. The fast then ends midday, which I'm sure we all would like our Yom Kippur fast to end at midday instead of in the evening. And it ends with a feast and with dancing. Like thousands of Jews around the world, the Ethiopian Jewish community prayed for centuries to return to the land of Israel. And this dream was realized in 1984 when Israel brought the first 8,000 Ethiopians to Israel through something called Operation Moses. Since then, there have been a number of operations that continue to bring Ethiopian Jews to Israel. From a sociological standpoint, however, this first generation of Ethiopian immigrants in Israel are among the poorest in Israel. However, many second-generation Ethiopian immigrants, as is more common with second-generation immigrants in general, have become successful across all walks of life. Penina Tamano Shata, who immigrated from Ethiopia to Israel when she was 3 years old through Operation Moses, became the first Ethiopian-born woman to become a member of the Israeli Parliament in 2013, and just last year became the first Ethiopian-born minister to the Israeli government. Tamano Shata describes this as a landmark and the closing of a circle, from being this 3-year-old girl on this grueling journey from Ethiopia without a mother, traveling to Israel, growing up in Israel, to becoming a woman who leads a community towards integration, the acceptance of the other, and against discrimination and racism. In Israel today, SIGD is celebrated for an entire month leading up to the 29th of Cheshvan. And though it will take time to fully integrate into Israeli society, and I hope into Jewish society, this is an opportunity to raise Ethiopian Jewish visibility and educate Israeli Jews about the Beta Israel customs. Following the holiday-filled month of Tishrei, and for those who might want a recap, we had Rosh Hashanah, we had Yom Kippur, we had Sukkot, we had Simchat Torah, and then we were tired. Most Jews understand this next month of Cheshvan as a month where the only holiday that we celebrate is Shabbat. However, with the addition of the Sigd, we have a new holiday to celebrate that includes a feast and an opportunity to learn more about a specific Jewish people. What more could we ask for? This week, we are in a portion of the Torah called Chaye Sarah, where Abraham is feeling a number of growing pains that come with being a first generation to leave home and immigrate to a new land. When his wife Sarah dies, he struggles to find someone who will sell him land where he can bury her. And then shortly after, he turns to his senior servant and makes him promise to find his son Isaac a wife from his homeland and not from Canaan where he is living. Abraham here tries to find the balance between the comfort of his native land and fulfilling the prophecy that he was promised for his children in the land that he is currently living. From this, I see a profound sense of loneliness in Abraham. Here he is, recently widowed, and trying to find his son a wife from the culture and the community that he knows. Perhaps one of the reasons why he sends his servant all the way to his native land is because he still feels like an outsider in his new home. I'm sure that we can all relate to this feeling, where we feel like we belong somewhere other than where we are. Perhaps you were a new student in a new school, or you were somewhere where you didn't feel like you could be your most authentic self. As a first-generation immigrant to the land of Canaan, Abraham perhaps is feeling like a stranger in a strange land, something that takes his descendants generations of leaving and returning to Canaan to eventually overcome. I think this is part of why I find it so profound that Israel is turning a minority community's holiday into a national holiday. Someone realized that this community, many of whom might still feel like strangers in a strange land, are actually part of a larger community, and it benefits all parties involved to acknowledge and celebrate that. Former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the following in his 2012 SIGD holiday greeting: "I know that there are whole communities among our people that understand the yearning for Zion and who are prepared to go on this road, entailing the most awful hardships, and these are the members of the Ethiopian community. Therefore, it is important to me that everyone in Israel know their heritage, their sacrifice, and their contribution to Israel. I want our state to be completely open, not only in terms of partnership, but equal opportunities, and also in recognizing the greatness of the contributions and heart among our brothers and sisters in the Ethiopian community. I bless you on this holiday, your holiday, which is also our holiday." On this Shabbat, let us look around our sanctuary, let us look around our Facebook feeds and our world, and remember that though our journeys might look different from one another, that we share experiences, and that we remember that we are stronger, that our differences don't divide us, but rather they strengthen us. I'm wishing you all a happy SIGD. May you all celebrate and be celebrated for who you are. Can you hear Ratzon? May it be God's will. It is now my honor to invite up Yafa Hughes, a member of our Board of Trustees, for some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I am Yafa Hughes, a member of the Temple Board, and on behalf of Congregation Kol Ami, we want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to Sam and John Fivish DeWitt for sponsoring tonight's service in memory of Sam's mother, Hilda Fibish, and cousin, Sylvia Strauss. Also, thank you to Daniel Blatt for also sponsoring tonight's service in memory of his friend Paula Tabor. May their memories forever be a blessing. Tomorrow, Saturday, October 30th, at 4 p.m., join our book circle for an online discussion of Florence Adler Swims Forever. This is led by Jane Drucker and David Glickman. And if you have not read the book, you can always join anyway. If Jane's there, it's going to always be a lively discussion. This Tuesday, November 2nd at 5:30 p.m., join our Sedec Justice Council for a visit to the Hollywood Food Coalition. We will be learning more about their work and direct service, as well as a part of Tuesday night food dinner service for the homeless and food insecure. This is open to anyone at Kol Ami. Thursday, November 4th, come celebrate and kick off Desert Pride Weekend. I just knew I was going to say dessert. Dessert Pride sounds wonderful also. But Desert Pride Weekend, board member Greg Factor hosts a Kol Ami cocktail party on Thursday evening in his home in Rancho Mirage for all Kol Ami members and friends. Join Rabbi Ager for an evening of schmoozing and a lot of fun. Register on our website. Next Friday is Football Friday. I know we're a big football congregation. You heard me, yes, Football Friday. Wear your favorite team jersey as the LA Rams play Rabbi Levy's favorite team, the Tennessee Titans. Ooh. Next Saturday morning, November 8th, is Shabbat Awakening. Our monthly Shabbat morning service is at 10 a.m. This will take place here in the synagogue and, of course, streaming. It is a perfect way to learn the art of prayer. Finally, mark your calendars for Rabbi Levy's installation weekend, Friday night, November 19th. Join the festive pre-neg in our courtyard from 5:30 to 6:30, then a special service at 6:30. Then on Saturday morning, Torah study, November 20, we will host Rabbi Dr. Jan Katsu, Hebrew Union College professor and mentor to Rabbi Levy. This will be in person and, of course, online. Don't miss the special celebration, and let's all come out and hear the Rabbi Dr. Jane Katsu and support Rabbi Levy. Finally, but certainly not least, our Sova food drive continues. Thank you so much, Lisa and Jane, for contributing to Sova tonight. Let's all make some time before synagogue to pick up canned goods, toiletries, and packaged foods that do not need refrigeration to the synagogue. Food pantries continue to be a challenge, especially now. As always, we hope you will keep up to date on all that is happening at Congregation Kol Ami by visiting our website often at kol-ami.org. That's kol-ami.org. Now, you can register for all of our online programs. And while you are registering for all these events, please consider a donation to support our sacred community. Remember, just like NPR, we rely on your support to offer our many programs and service. Thank you so much for your attendance, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom,
And
Yafa.
you had me sold on the dessert ride.
Thank you, Yafa. Thank you, Yafa. Page 586, we rise for the Aleinu L'Shabeach prayer. Aleinu L'Shabeach, L'Adon HaKol, L'Ateit Gedula, L'Yotzer B'Reishit, Shelo Asanu Kigoyei Aratzot, V'lo Samanu, Kamishpachota. Tonight, as we are beginning to end the month of Cheshvan and move towards Kislev, we're recalling Ed Gould, the brother of Barbara Oskop, Hilda Fibish, mother of Sam Fibish DeWitt, Evelyn Brown, mother of Bonnie Brown, Roy Gold, father of Cheryl Gold, Lillian Weiss, mother of Stephen Weiss, Jim Stern, Erwin Wortman, father of Richard Wortman, Howard Jacobs, son of Robert and Dorothy Jacobs, and Melvin Catch, father of Stuart Catch, whose yahrzeit plaques are lit in loving remembrance. We're also remembering the yahrzeits of Abraham Soroka, uncle of Henry Sommerfeld, Bluma Cinnamon, aunt of Erwin Alexander, Henry Chapman, grandfather of Constance Kaplan, Hyman Miller, grandfather of Deborah Miller, Isidore Berg, grandfather of Daniel Blatt, Jacob Forster, brother of Ruth Williams, John Alexander, uncle of Erwin Alexander, Lottie Steintal, friend of Jane Drucker, Lucky Munzer, a great aunt of David Bernstein, Mehdi Harunian, father of Joseph Harunian, Rita Freeman, mother of Mark Freeman, Sylvia Strauss, cousin of Sam Fibish DeWitt, and Vic Zam, uncle of Glenn Rosenblum. We're reciting Kaddish for Desiderio Pacheco, Margaret Gohari, Jeffrey Blank, Robert Martinez, Robert Weems, Adele Habibi, Sarah Klein, Francis Schiff, Lynn Ehrlich McAuley, Muriel Steicher, Marie Celia Ruvo, Ava Weinberger, Sandra Smith, Jack Ader, Esther Richmond, Mary Wilson, Josh Markowitz, Vincent Gabriel, Steve Boardman, Fred Michaels, Claude Casolino, Jeb Stewart Robertson, Barbara Rubin, Jill Dowler, Allison Schurz, Rochelle Kaminsky, Alan Eckoby, Gary Rosenfeld, Stephen May, Herbert Lenk, Jack Salzberg, Paul Rush, Hanum Bashi, Michael Epstein, Marvin Keller, Mark Levin, Rick Gold, Erwin Sonny Citron, Dawn Eugene Robbins. We note with sadness this week the death of Paula Tabor, friend of Dan Blatt, and Ann Pendo, mother of Susan Pendo. There are others that you would like to remember for this Kaddish prayer if you'll say their name aloud or write their name in our chat on Facebook or YouTube. The memories of all of them are with us as together we recite the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'gala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach leolam umei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huye aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'kol yishvei tevel v'yimru amen. May the one who teaches us peace in the heavens above help us to grant peace here on earth to one another, and let us have peace for those who have died, and together we say,
Amen.
Amen. Our closing song tonight, our closing hymn, is page Adon Olam 621. Thank you.
25.
625. We join together. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ek nosor v'chefsa kol zay melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora
Rabbi Egger said that the theme was Simple Shabbat. I hope that spending this time together in community and prayer has jump-started your Shabbat, and that it is a Shabbat Menucha, a restful Shabbat, and a restorative Shabbat, a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see everyone in person and online.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.